Welcome, Jesse Appiah.
Yes, lad.
How are you doing?
I'm good, man.
We were just talking about this piece of art.
Yeah.
Where's this from?
So that actual frame and that thing was in this building. It's been in this building for like over 10 years. I don't know what was on it before, to be honest, but it was kind of fading away. It was hung up on the wall. And then my mate came down from Tokyo last year, and he was using the space as like an art studio for a couple of weeks, month, and he just started doodling on it. And he's added some lines you can see, and he's kind of used some of the fading on the actual canvas and just created something on top of it.
It's one of those things where you look, the more you look.
Yeah, the more you look, the more you see. Yeah,
Greek mythology kind of
thing.
Yeah.
It kind of gives me a bit of like a Louvre Greek mythology kind of vibe, but. Yeah, I don't know what his intention was, and it was definitely not that way around when I gave it to him. But he's obviously seen something in it, and he's kind of brought, a different perspective on it, which is cool, man. But his name's Nishi, and he comes from Tokyo, and he's an amazing artist and painter, and just an all-round creative out there in Tokyo. And he's doing a lot.
You spent some time in Tokyo?
Yeah, a lot of time over the last couple of years. I've been there maybe 3 times.
Mm-hmm. I'd love to go.
Yeah,
it's a place I've not been yet. Travel a lot of places, but not kind of that area of the world.
Yeah, it's an inspiring place to go, I think, because it's just there's just so much to see, and there's just so many kind of quirky and weird things happening that you just wouldn't see in London, and so it kind of opens your mind up a little bit when you go over there. And a bunch
food
of
as well.
Food's incredible. The style and the fashion is incredible as well, and just nature in general and city life is just so present over there, so much of it. So you're just constantly taking in like loads of information.
There's that program, wasn't it, about like the centurion, the people who live to 100. I think Japan was kind of heavily featured in that. Yeah. From people just being part of like communities and spending a lot of time outdoors, gardening, doing all these things which are kind of good for you. Yeah.
Yeah, I think community is like I think I saw that documentary. It was like a couple of different parts, but I think community is just underrated.
It's huge.
That shit will keep you alive.
We're quite lucky in music. There's a big community.
There is, like, it can sometimes be surface, but like if you find real cool people that you really resonate with and get on with, then you are building that community out, and. It's like when you just dive deep with people and you actually get to know them beyond like what they do, you know what I'm saying? Then I guess
because we flit into these gigs, sometimes see people, unless you're doing a tour, I guess you kind of see these people for like a short period of time. Yeah,
really like momentarily, and then not again for like another year or the next function gig.
Well,
or
like me and you.
Yeah, exactly. A bit like me and you.
So we went to Egypt with White Keys. Shout out White Keys.
Big up White Keys.
A pretty crazy trip where. Because you're also thrown into situations where you don't really know people, like we'd never really met.
Yeah, true. Well, even though we've been around each other, I'm sure at some point we know a lot of the same people. Yeah, I think we probably would have.
But you get thrown into these very intense social situations where you have to sometimes you have to spend 3 days with someone that you've never met.
Yeah.
And you instantly get a kind of vibe if they're your kind of person or not.
True.
Which I definitely felt with you. Like, I could tell we'd have cool conversations.
Yeah.
And it's definitely that kind of like intense time. A 3 day solid with those people.
It's a great story. Always a great story though when you come back from those moments, because you're traveling, you're in a new environment, you're around new people, you're about to do a gig, it's all very exciting, things go right, things go wrong, and ultimately you just kind of see beyond just the person that you see for like a small snapshot of time. You just get a bit more in depth with
100%.
people. So it was good to meet you on that, bro.
And I guess also some of those situations are a little bit stressful. So you also see people under pressure and how they kind of deal with the situations.
Yeah, or what pressure is to different people.
Yeah,
Do you know what I mean?
Definitely.
Some people don't care, but some people, are hypersensitive to pressure maybe. So yeah.
And we had everyone got a bit ill after that in the end.
You know what? I escaped it for some reason. I didn't get ill. I don't know what happened, but some people got really sick.
One of our friends was hospitalised.
Yeah, and it affected him for like a year after. Shout out, man! Like he struggled, man. Whatever he ate that day really messed him up. So
I saw him the other day. He said after that trip that he went from veganism and then went from that to eating steak every day.
I'm just glad he's doing better now.
Just try and work out what it was.
I'm glad he's doing better now. But that was a good trip, man, and it was good to meet you on that trip. And
it was fun.
Yeah, it was fun. Hopefully we get to do another one of those.
Yeah, definitely. I kind of like a bit of that chaos, though.
I'm into it, man.
I think when sometimes it's a bit too easy, it gets a bit boring. I think I like sometimes a little bit of madness.
I'm into it, man. I actually went to Egypt that year, earlier on in the year.
It was in January, right?
I went in the January. I think it was maybe it was February, but I went that year for chaos. Do you know what I mean? I was like, let me go somewhere where I don't really know anything about the culture, where I am, and just be in the heart of it and just experience it and be inspired. Like, and Egypt gave me that vibe, and so it was interesting going back.
Yeah, that area of the world, there are a few places like that. India for that was like that for me. I've never been anywhere like India.
Sure.
It was a place where you just, like traveling with my wife, I was traveling with my wife as well when we were there. And like traveling with a Western woman, is very interesting, very eye-opening.
I've heard it's an interesting experience.
They still treat you like celebrities wherever you go.
Really,
even like they kind of act like they've never seen anyone like you, and it kind of comes up with like lots of them with phones and stuff straight away. Everyone asking for photos.
Were you intimidated by it? Was the energy intimidating, or was it just
sometimes it was
intrigue?
But they're all quite little people.
Sure.
So it kind of felt like not all the ones that I kind of met were like smaller people, so I kind of didn't feel as intimidated. But there were definitely moments where you're just kind of like, yeah, this is a bit crazy.
Yeah, when I went to India,
I'm also a man. I'm not a woman. I can imagine as a woman, I can imagine that would be quite intimidating.
I mean, I think the thing is, you just experience the world differently based on who you are. Like we all have these 100%. Different experiences of the world, like based on our appearances or whatever external. Because when I was in India, I felt the same thing you're saying. That everyone was just like
it's intense,
intrigued, like as to like who was this guy kind of thing. I felt that energy, and loads of phones were coming out, and it's a really populous place as well. So there's just loads and loads of people.
Where did you go in India?
I was in Jaipur. I was there for about 5 days. It was a White Keys gig as well, actually, and. I've never been so stared at in my life.
Yeah.
And I get annoyed, I get uptight about that, because where I grew up, if you're staring at someone, that's a problem. Do you know what I mean? And so I would get into that defensive bag where I was like, kind of looking people back in the face, like, "What you cool? Like, what's going on?" And then I would get like a little
smile.
Yeah, and I was like, "Oh, okay, maybe it's just intrigue, and I'm not reading it the right way, whatever, you know." But I just think it's good to put yourself in environments where it's like you're.
It's like nowhere I've ever been though.
Yeah,
like I felt like kind of deep spiritual nature from it. I don't know. It was some kind of like energy that I felt from it. I wasn't sure what it was. Couldn't put my finger on it, but it was something about it.
I said the same thing when I got back, and people who hadn't been, they were just like, "What are you talking about?"
Yeah, it sounds weird.
Like they've been to a pilgrimage or something. Calm down, just because you visited a couple monkey temples or something. Like, do you know what I mean? Come back like a guru, some shit like that. But no, honestly, man, I felt the same. I came back and I was like. It just felt profoundly spiritual.
Did you have a bit of downtime when you were there then?
I did. I spent
5 days, I guess.
I spent about 4 or 5 days out there just on my own after doing the gig. And not on my own, I still had some people that we were there together kind of thing. And I felt that, man. I don't know, very spiritual place. I can't put my finger on it either.
Yeah.
There's a lot of respect for like certain animals as well. Yeah, so maybe that could be a part
are
of
like
it.
Holy, right?
Yeah, and you kind of feel like this sense of like, wow, man, like this whole society's functioning, like we're really respecting this animal. And everything stops to move around, like a cow who might just be laying in the middle of the road and just wanted to have a nap. And it's like, okay, traffic's gonna have to go around you for the day.
Yeah, and there's certain brutal things as well. Like if someone kills someone in a car,
right,
they have like the license. The people around have the license, or they will just kill that person.
Really?
Yeah. It can be like certain areas of it can be very kind of like old school and brutal.
Right, I didn't know that. Well, interesting. It's good to travel. It's good to
100%.
It's good to realize that your perspective is just a perspective.
Yeah, definitely. So when my wife met, she had a around the world trip booked.
Oh, cool.
2 months after we met.
Oh,
so cool. We met and we were just like, this is such an intense feeling. Like I've never felt never felt like this about anyone. And she was like, she kept trying to tell me something. She'd like breathe in and then breathe out. And I'd be like, what's she trying to say? And then she was like, oh, I've actually got a trip booked around the world in like a month's time.
Was she nervous to tell you because she thought it might mess things up?
Oh, okay, see you later then.
Fair.
So I just said, all right, I'll follow you around then.
Cool, man. How long did you do the trip? A year?
For a whole year, yeah.
Really?
So she went to India for like 3 or 4 months. So I went and visited over there for like, I think 2 or 3 weeks.
I love that, bro.
Then Southeast Asia, Singapore, Bali.
I love that, man. I love
cool.
that. Yeah,
and Australia really cool. For a bit as well.
That's really cool. You just dived in. I like that. Straight dive.
Well, I think I just felt something. I was just like, yeah, this person's cool. This person's for me.
And you follow the feeling. It's good to follow that feeling, man.
Yeah.
When you feel it profoundly, just dive, man. There's nothing wrong with it. I love that, man.
Yeah.
That's wicked.
Because obviously, yeah, everyone else or your brain. My brain never went there, but I know a lot of people were like, "You're crazy. What are you doing?"
I mean,
like, but my brain never kind of let me think that. It was just like, "No, this is cool.
This is cool.
This is cool. I'm excited by
so
this."
You went with it.
And I guess for me, it was like, who else can really say that?
Yeah.
Who else can say they've done that? It's like
not many people.
Their first kind of like couple of months. So you were born and bred in Hackney?
Yeah. I was born in this area, born and bred, went to school here, just spent life here, you know,
nice.
In the ends.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just
I love Hackney. I spent a lot of time here as well.
So do I, man. Like I've loved it in terms of how it's changed, better or worse. Do you know what I mean? It's just like a real place, isn't it? Like all places, they change over time, they evolve, they get better, they get worse in different ways. They're just, you know, it's home. It's a community here. I still see people that I went to school with, you know, primary school. I still see people walking by, and I love that, man. It makes me feel really grounded and very grateful because I see.
You should say where are we then? So where are we?
We're in Clapton, which is a part of Hackney, and East London, E5. Right now, we're actually in a space called 219 Art Space, which used to be a bakery, and kind of I took stewardship over the space in the last maybe year and a half.
Nice. And
just kind of been building a bit of a creative community around here. But I remember it as a bakery when I was a kid. I used to walk by and smell like the bread and the stuff that was cooking up. And people who've been in the area for a long time remember it as a bakery as well. So again, it's a physical space that has memory, and it's in an area that's changed so much as well over the years, but this as a physical space hasn't really changed much.
Okay. That's quite cool.
Yeah, I do. I think it is kind of cool. It's kind of like anti-gentrification in some ways. Do you know what I mean? It's like the reverse of that. Everything around is kind of become a bit more, I guess, homogenous and I think a bit sterile sometimes, like the new builds and stuff. This place is retained like its texture.
London loves a new build.
I know they love a new build, man. Yeah. It's too much.
There's like estates near me where just so many empty houses and so many houses that are all the same that no one wants to buy. It's a bizarre.
Yeah.
And then when people buy them, they're really hard to sell because they're just like, well, I could just get this one. I don't want a new one anyway.
Yeah.
It's a really weird concept.
It is, man. And I think it just kind of has taken a lot of character out of physical spaces. Like, I get maybe why they're built that way because they're modern and they're cheaper to build in that way, maybe. I don't know. And, you know, they're kind of maybe seen as blank canvases that you can kind of go
like
in
there.
Things,
new shiny things.
Yeah, new shiny white walls. We can just hang our little bits of art and personalize it and stuff. But I don't know, I'm just into stuff that has a bit more history and texture and a bit more of a unique vibe about it. And yeah, this is definitely that. So yeah, welcome, bro.
Amazing. I love it.
Thanks for coming down and making the trek.
What do you use this space for, mainly then?
A few different things. Like mainly it's a space to kind of just get together with other creatives and talk, chat, hang, plan. But we also sometimes have like residencies here. People come and paint for a period of time.
Cool.
We've shot some visuals and stuff for...
You have like musical nights as well?
Yeah, well, we've done a jam downstairs one night, but I'm planning on doing more of that.
Cool.
I think that could be really cool.
I'd always be up coming to that, man.
Yeah, I think it's suited for that. It's quite residential, so it's nothing too crazy. Like, it's not going to be...
I guess you're in the basement, so it's a little bit...
In the basement, so it's a bit more quiet. We've had like a DJ downstairs playing some music, and actually when you come up here, you can't really hear.
I think I saw one of the videos on your socials actually about that.
So I want to do more of that over time. But for now, it's just an all-purpose kind of creative space.
It's great.
That's kind of how I
need
see
more
it.
spaces like this.
I think it's important. I think that everything's really digital these days, and physical spaces are important.
Yeah, definitely. And people need to meet more, I think, and talk and make music.
Agreed.
That's what I love about music, and especially writing your own music, just collaborating with people.
Yeah.
And making new tunes and kind of fusing those ideas with people, I think that's one of the best things for me.
Collaboration.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I agree. It's the same thing for me. And I would say even beyond the making of the music, but also the making of visuals or coming up with an idea for like an artwork or something.
I love your visuals, man. I was looking at them earlier and the other day, like very interesting, very like unique.
Thank you, bro.
You can tell you've got that kind of artistic eye.
Oh, thank you, man. I've always been into stuff like that. I just care about that stuff, and I think, like you said before, when it comes to making music, it's all just about collaborating with people.
Yeah.
So yeah, I enjoy that. Any chance I get to do that, I love it. I love to make things with friends. You know what I mean? And put them out into the world. So that's kind of the vibe. You know.
You got a new tune coming out, right?
Yeah, I have a tune coming out on the 2nd of May called Lucy. and it's kind of off part 2 of this project called That's the Thing About Time, which kind of started being released last year. Last year when I was in Egypt in February is when we started putting it out, and now it's kind of part 2 of that project. We're kind of getting towards putting the full thing out, which is exciting. Yeah.
Have you done visuals for that as well?
Not yet, but actually one of the reasons why I was here earlier on was to plan the visuals for that. Yeah, I've got this idea.
That's one thing I'll be honest, it's one thing I struggle with more than the making of the music is that kind of like creative, the visualizing of just doing something a bit different. Something I've had to really work on over the years and try and think about like how am I going to make this so it's authentic, so it's like me, and it's a bit different. Like my brain will always think, I'll just do the music then, it'll be fine. But I guess in this day and age, you've got to think about all those different elements at the same time.
It's a shame because like it kind of forces you maybe to not care but to engage with something that maybe you don't have like a passion for, if that makes sense. Yeah. But I genuinely believe that like all of it is just an extension of you anyway. So just leaning into what you like more and more and more, you'll eventually find the visual identity that's your thing. Do you know what I mean? I think it's just being brave enough to go like, I like this.
Yeah. And not care about what people think.
This is what I'm going to go with.
Yeah, and that's that age-old kind of like thing, that's that battle, isn't it?
Yeah, I think so, man. And I think it's harder actually these days to like maybe be a bit more authentic, just because you see so much of everybody else's shit. Do you know what I mean? And you're flooded with it, right? Yeah, you're flooded with it. Whether you like it or not, you might be just comparing yourself to other people's stuff, like even stuff you really enjoy. Oh man, I want to do more of that because I really enjoyed that. But that might not be the approach, you know. It might be about trying to get away from seeing too much of other people's stuff and just leaning more into what you just like, what you like.
That's true. Keep it fresh. Keep it clean in your head. Yeah, I heard, there was quite a few producers that I heard talk, and they will sometimes not listen to any music for like 2 weeks before they write their own stuff.
Yeah, I get that.
Because I find myself, like if I'm in the middle of writing something, I'll go and listen to something else and be like, why didn't I think of that? I'll just do that.
Yeah, that's the thing. And it's easy to do when you enjoy something, because we're all essentially just being inspired anyway by stuff that we see. So if you enjoy something, you might just want to mimic it, like without even knowing that you're doing that. So I do think it's important to give yourself a bit of space from other people's stuff, and just kind of go within.
Yeah, definitely.
Go inside.
That's that kind of trusting what you like and trust to be authentic, isn't it?
Yeah,
it's very important.
Yeah. And we all are individuals. We are all unique individuals. We're all like a mixture of obviously all of our influences and experiences, but through our perspective. Like nobody is gonna have your perspective on things because no one's lived your exact life through your eyes.
All the different influences and different experiences.
Yeah, so the more you lean into that thing, I feel like the more you'll just find that this is unique. Because it is unique, you know, that is a unique perspective. So yeah, but hey man, what do I know? I don't know.
Yeah, no, I like that.
I'm just chatting.
So are you signed? How do you approach the kind of music?
Yeah, it's independent. Yeah. Me too. Yeah, it's the approach is just working with friends first and foremost. But yeah, I've had some really nice support actually from a company called Vero, who are like a social media company. Okay. And what's been cool actually about working with them is their approach is just, how can we just do it differently to what's happened? Do you know what I mean? In
social media, in what kind of sense? They do marketing or?
They do marketing. They build a platform where they're trying to stay away from like the more algorithm-based way of sales, you know, make it more about artists first, I think I would say. So it's been fun to work with them because, like I said, I think whenever you're working with people that are trying to be more innovative, it allows you to be more creative as well. And they definitely allow a lot more creative freedom because they're not trying to control and say, well, this is how it's done and this is how it's done right, so do it like this. I think it's just a lot more of an exchange and, again, a collaboration. So, but it is still an independent project, and I think, I like it that way because I think it's just more... It's more freeing. It's more control in terms of getting your ideas across without having too many voices. Yeah, there's that side of it, and like there's that side of it which I get makes a lot of sense. But I think for me, it's just more about control creatively, not being told like this is a color palette you should be using and you should be doing these exact kind of videos, like because this is what works. like, okay, it might work, but it might not work for you. It might not be a thing.
It works for what, I guess. I guess what they're really saying is works for money, right? Works for kind of making money.
Well, yeah. Shit. That part, I forgot about that part. How are you navigating that? Like, how do you navigate like wanting to build, I guess, a business around what you do, but also wanting to be a creative and to be a musician and make things that you love, but having to think about finance and having to think about the sustainability of it. How do you kind of deal with that?
I kind of, with the creative stuff, I relate it to how long it took me to make money from gigs, or to be like sustainable and be consistent with money from gigs. Like when I first started doing gigs when I was like 20, 21, it took me a long time to earn any money from it.
You just a bunch of free gigs, open mic nights, that kind of vibe. Yeah.
And I was teaching a bit on the side.
Yeah.
But it took me a long time to kind of like find my feet. And I think when you get, almost the ego can kind of come in and think like, why am I not making money from this? Why am I not being more successful with this? But it just takes time. For me, I'm plucking away at it, trying to release, like I set myself a goal of trying to release between 12 and 15 tunes like this year. Okay. Just getting them out. And every time I'm doing something, I'm just like learning about like a slightly better way to get stuff out. Like stuff like this is a cool way, I think, to get yourself out to people, and also kind of just sending it out to different people, sending it out to radio stations, like local radio stations to me. So I think I'm just trying to be patient and trying to just think like I didn't make music from playing saxophone immediately. And it took a long time.
I mean, what business turns over a profit immediately? Right. Most don't, right? No. They usually take a couple of years even to break even, and then they start to go into the green zone. So I think that's just like a blanket thing across anyone who's building something. That,
but you also try not to take it personally. Trying to just be a bit more like kind of ruthless with it, and a bit more have a thicker skin, and just be like, I'm really enjoying what I'm doing. I'm just going to get better at it, and I'm just going to improve. And almost like the kind of like mentality of putting like a lick of paint down and eventually just building something from that, almost building a mountain from that, kind of one stage at a time.
Yeah, I feel you, man. I think it should just be like a gradual approach. And if you focus on the here and the now and enjoying that process and enjoying what you're actually making, I think that gives the long-term thing more value anyway, because you're not doing it for money. I just think that when you do things for money, I just don't feel like they are sustainable. They don't live for as long. I think things that live super long are things that you just build because they're useful or because you love them and you're putting all that good energy into it, and over time that's going to pay dividends, like I think. But I hear you, man. Like, I think it took a while to make money from music, and that approach is the right approach. And like you said, doing stuff like talking on microphones in front of cameras. I think apparently that's something that loads of people like to do these days, you know, in general. But yeah, I don't know, man. Like, how do you feel about that? Like, how do you feel about content, social media? Like, you know, the idea of doing a podcast, for example. Like, what does that? Yeah, how do you feel about that? What's your thought process behind that?
So I love listening to podcasts. Like I say I listen to podcasts a few hours a day. Sick. And for me, it's helped me in loads of different ways. Like just from like listening to different people talk, listening to scientists talk, listening to wellness people talk. And I'd say it's definitely helped me like navigate through like mental health problems and that kind of stuff. So I'd love to kind of give that back to people as well, and just talk to interesting people, man. And I love that kind of stuff, and I love meshing that with kind of music. And I think there's not enough places really that musicians kind of talk openly about these things. I think there should be more, because like going back to the social media thing, I think we said this before we started. Like social media does make it look like everything's cool, but I think you also need sometimes need to delve deeper than that and realize that is a bit of a facade. And even there, you could see someone post like this kind of really lovely thing about themselves. You never really know what they're going through. So I think where podcast is like a longer form, where it's kind of less about that algorithmic stuff and more about like deeper thought and more thinking about some kind of more intrinsic things. That's what I'd say. Nice, bro. And I really like that you see it that way and you approach it that way, because it just means it's real. Do you know what I mean? And I think that's what creates connection all the time. Do you know what I mean? It's the reason why we're just talking. Do you know what I mean? And I think sometimes like
people do something because they're jumping onto a wave and they feel like, oh, everyone's doing that, so therefore I must do that. I thought about doing a podcast at one point again, and not because I felt like I had anything to say, but at one point it was like, man, I guess everyone's doing this, and this is a really good form of content. And I had that thought process. I was like, maybe I should do a podcast and I could do it about this and do it, but I didn't really want to do one. Do you know what I mean? I didn't really care to do one. I didn't really feel convicted like that. That was something I wanted to do, and so I didn't do it in the end. But it's nice to hear you say what you're saying. Like you've actually got a real, like a real personal connection and story behind podcasts and how they've helped you personally and why you want to give that back and play that forward. That's what it's about. Do you know what I mean? And so from what you were saying earlier on about visuals and authenticity, I think this is a perfect place to start for you then, because it is authentic, you know.
Yeah, and I like that kind of longer form stuff. I think I listen to a lot of that stuff. I watch a lot of that kind of, that longer form kind of content. And I think it's, also I just love talking to people. I love talking to people from like different walks of life. Like I don't want it to just to be like just about musicians. I think for me it could be anything really. That's why I was kind of also playing, I don't really know what to call it.
Sure. Because
I don't want to call it like musicians.
Maybe you should call it, what'd you call it? Like you know that Wiley tune. What'd you call it? Garage. What'd you call it? Two-step. It's funny because I like to talk as well. Like my close friends know that I can chat for days. You know what I mean, but I do get nervous when a camera is on and a microphone is on, and I know something's being recorded. It just, sometimes you can go a bit more in your shell, because I guess I'm a bit more introverted in that sense.
Me too.
But it's good, man. It's good to talk.
Yeah, I kind of had that. I had a bit of an imposter syndrome when I was thinking about doing it. Definitely, a couple of times when I was like, "What are you doing?" You know, and you're like, kind of like.
Have you seen how many people have podcasts and they're just chatting? This is not the thing to have. This is not the thing to have imposter syndrome over, man. It's almost like everyone in their nan who has a microphone is just like, "Come on, man. Let's talk about current affairs, man. Let's dive deep into pop culture." So
that's the one thing I didn't want it to be about. I wanted it to just be a conversation. I wanted it to be like just chilled, nice. But it's that thing. I'm reading a thing at the moment about like kind of the monkey mind that you have in your brain, and just kind of it taking over and chatting, and kind of like this part of your brain which kind of just, if you let it, will kind of like rule the inner dialogue within you. And it's kind of like just saying to it like, I am the boss, you just need to shut up for a minute, like, and it will just kind of, it occasionally kind of runs around your brain with these kind of like negative thought patterns. And you sometimes have to just be like, no, shut up, like I'm doing this, like I think it will be good. I think it's great that you're doing it firstly, but I know what you mean, that part of the brain. I think that everyone obviously has 100%. That experience, you know, when you have your self-doubt and your imposter syndromes, and like, it's just about navigating that and understanding that that's not necessarily a true voice. You know, it's just a voice in your head that's just reflecting, I don't know, insecurity sometimes, or fear, or anxiety, whatever it is, but isn't necessarily the truth. And so I think it's great that you're identifying that as a separate thing in your mind and not as you. Do you know what I mean? Your thoughts aren't you. Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I love the idea. I think it's a cool thing for people to have, and a cool thing for people to listen to, and I think there should be more kind of people talking. And I love, I was saying to you earlier as well, I'd love to kind of add like a musical element to each show.
Have a little jam, cool. Like you just whip out the saxophone afterwards.
My favourite thing to do at gigs is when people ask for that tune, and I go, "What's that?
What's that?
What's that?" Careless Whisper. You go, "What? What is that, mate?" You don't know it.
You don't know it?
No, I don't.
Is that the most famous sax?
That at Baker Street, yeah.
Well, how's Baker Street go again? Oh my gosh, that one. Yeah. Oh yeah, for sure.
My uncle actually my uncle taught me that. I think it was like about 6 months before he died. So that tune has got like a big thing in my brain. Like he was he's a teacher and a musician from Glasgow. Right. And he kind of taught me that. He would get his guitar and like, "You got to learn this song." And he taught me that song. So every time it kind of like, it's quite poignant for me, because every time people request it,
it's got that personal touch point, right?
Yeah, I'll play it. Well, I'll joke about it first. I don't know it.
And then you play it in honor of your unks. Shout out to unks for teaching you that tune. He didn't know how many times you were probably going to get asked to play it.
Yeah, literally thousands.
Oh man, big up.
Yeah.
No,
it's funny, man. I love I love music and I love the people that you meet. I think there's such a plethora of different characters.
Yeah, definitely. Because music is like a universal language, right? You know, so you just you're always interacting with so many different characters. You know, being one yourself. You know, and then create memories with each other. I think it's great. You know, especially like you said, when you can get into having a real conversation with someone, or just connecting on something real, or just like, yeah, I just think it's great. I love music. I love music, man. I do. I really do. I had such a connection to it from when I was so young. It was just like, you know, some people just don't experience music that way, and it took me a while to like grasp that. Wow, like you don't hear certain tunes that like just really touch you so deeply like that you can't get out of your head, or you need to listen to it like over and over again, or it becomes like
I'll become obsessed.
The soundtrack, do you know what I mean, to a certain period of your life. Like some people don't have that experience with music. They don't feel that connection to music.
And I find it weird when people call me and say, we love a saxophone player, but my wife just doesn't really, or my fiance doesn't like music. And I'm just like, I don't know if I'm the right person. I really don't know if I'm the right person for this event.
Don't like music?
She doesn't really listen to music. I'm like, okay, I'm cool.
You know, when people say that, I don't always believe them, because at some point in their day, they are experiencing music. Like, whether it's they're singing in the shower some random tune, or they're nodding along to something on the radio, or they hear something in the shop when they're going to buy something that is probably encouraging them to buy that thing. You're just constantly interacting.
Yeah, you can't avoid it. You literally
can't avoid it. So to say you don't like music, I'm like,
yeah, that's weird.
Maybe you don't like records.
But even restaurants you go to,
everywhere,
or like bars,
it's a part of the environment.
Everywhere.
When you listen to it, when you watch a film, you might have a favorite film. I guarantee you, a big part of the reason why that film's your favorite film is probably some of the soundtrack.
Yeah, 20 songs at least.
Do you know what I mean?
In every film.
Some advert that you love that you went and bought something for, probably the soundtrack. What are you doing, little kitty cat? That's so random. Happy cat. But yeah, so when people say they don't like music, all right, maybe they don't connect with it in the same way, but don't like it.
So did you do music in school? Do you enjoy music in school?
Yeah, I used to play steel pans.
Nice.
You know, they start you on the recorder when you're in primary school. That's just like that's the go-to.
Because it's like £5.
Because it's so cheap. Yeah, it's so cheap. You get a melody out of it. So that obviously is the first thing everyone does.
A whole class recorder as well.
A whole class.
30 recorders.
30 recorders. Playing do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti,
I used to do whole class glockenspiel, and that was hard.
Really?
Because that's like, in Tower Hamlets, I used to teach in Tower Hamlets and some of the schools. That's a lot, 30 glockenspiels is a lot.
But that must have created a wicked sound.
It was cool. Yeah, we used to see a lot of like Christmas songs and stuff.
I love that, man. Yeah, I love that metallic kind of sound that you get off that. I played a glockenspiel on a song that I put out last year called Look
It's
Back.
such a cool thing to have around. Because it's so
amazing.
small.
Yeah,
I love
just
that.
fun. It creates a great sound. It just creates a great sound. But I think all of that stuff in primary school is great. Music.
Did you have a cool music teacher? Or good music teachers?
I had a cool music teacher for steel pans when I was in primary school. My recorder teacher wasn't super cool. He was a bit weird. And then I had a really cool teacher.
What songs were you doing on steel pans? Were you doing like well-known songs, or were you doing like what kind of songs were you doing? I think that makes such a difference what you're playing.
Honestly, like, I'm not the right person to ask what song specifically we played for steel pans. I just know it was vibes.
Right.
Do you know what I mean? And it would be stuff that you'd play at like Hackney Carnival and that kind of vibe. It was just amazing. And then I moved from playing steel pans to playing drums in the steel pan band.
Oh, cool.
Because he felt like I had like a good natural rhythm, so he moved me onto the drums eventually. So I went from playing like the big bass steel pans to playing drums, and that was like my introduction to like music when I was in primary school. Yeah. But
do you still play drums now?
Yeah, I still play drums.
Nice.
Yeah, I grew up playing drums at church.
Cool.
On the weekend, still play every now and then if I can, if I'm around.
That's such an important thing for kids to learn, people when they're learning as well, to play in a group.
Yeah.
Because if your own, I said this to my students before, I don't teach anymore, but I used to say this all the time. If your only auditory feedback is yourself, music is not the same. Yeah, and you just sitting there just being like, oh yeah, you'll get so frustrated. And it's just like that. For me, that is not what music's about.
Yeah, I think a lot of music is about listening. Do you know what I mean? Like a lot of it actually isn't playing; it's actually listening. You know, and
100%.
Yeah, I think when you're playing with other people, you're really tuning into what other people are doing. You can be part of this whole thing.
And it's fun. It's like with your mates.
Yeah,
with your mates, it's just such a fun time.
Great. It's a great vibe. Like
mine was similar, but it was like big bands. So I was in big bands from like the age of like 15, 16.
Cool.
Where it's like 30 of your mates just in this band.
Was it always sax, or did you play any other brass?
Yeah, always sax.
Okay.
To begin with, I played clarinet and then piano. I had lessons.
Okay.
But the piano was more kind of like traditional classical playing that I learned, just learning how to read. But then when I got into kind of playing saxophone in big bands, that was kind of learning any music I wanted. Like I was really into ska when I was in school as well, like ska and punk bands.
Nice.
So
you listened to the specials and stuff like that? Yeah, sick.
Well, Cap Down and people like that. We used to play a lot of gigs around Derby and stuff.
Nice.
So then you played drums and steel drums in school?
Yeah, drums and steel drums. I don't think you can count recorder really. And then...
Was your church right here in Hackney?
Yeah, next door. Just played every single weekend, and then ended up going to like a music school, like a Saturday music school.
Me too.
Called CYM, Centre for Young Musicians.
Yeah, nice.
Yeah. And that was cool as well, because basically the whole vibe of that was that it was targeted to low income areas like Hackney, Brixton, Peckham, places like that. And for kids who couldn't necessarily afford classical instruments, because some of those things are very expensive.
But I feel very privileged. My parents bought me my saxophones. I mean, if without that,
you wouldn't have been. I
wouldn't be able to do it.
Yeah. My sister played the flute when we were kids, and like one flute is like $1,000 or something. At least.
I feel extremely privileged. My parents were in a position to do that for me, be able to offer that.
Yeah, so we were lucky enough to have found this this music school through my uncle, actually. My Uncle John, he found it, and so that's kind of where I started learning a little bit more, I guess, theory or a little bit more of that kind of stuff. Don't remember much theory now, to be honest with you. I'm not even gonna lie, but yeah, it was nice to always be around like classical instruments as well at one point. Like, so it'd be like a whole musicianship class where there'd be all like rhythm section stuff and all percussive instruments, and then there'd be like a choir class, and then there'd be like Spanish guitar class, and then there was like classical instruments, so strings and flutes and clarinets and stuff like that. So that's being cool. Around that a lot every Saturday for a couple of years, that was cool. Do you know what I mean?
It's a different world, isn't it? That kind of classical side.
Yeah, it is. It's a whole different world. So much more theoretical, and it sounds bigger and lush. But I don't know. It's just nice because when you're a kid, you're not thinking super technical. You're just kind of learning what you learn, and you're taking in what you take in. So I'm just very grateful that I got that experience at that age, because it just kind of put some of that sound in me without, you know what I mean? Without me going off and going, I really want to learn classical. But it just kind of naturally was hearing some of that kind of stuff. In film,
again, we go back to what you were saying earlier, like in films and TV, all that kind of, that lush string kind of sound.
Yeah, composition.
It's so prevalent. Prevalent.
Yeah.
Like it's such a big thing. Yeah. Like I remember when I went to Trinity, Greenwich, and there was one module where we got to do like a strings. Like, so one of my favourite albums is Charlie Parker with Strings, where it's this incredible jazz sax player, but he's got a full string section.
Sick, I need to listen to that.
So I managed to arrange, I took down some Vaughan Williams transcriptions and then wrote like I probably wrote like 10 different ideas of the voicings they were using. And then we wrote like a whole arrangement section with live sax and rhythm section and full strings. Like that sound. It's nothing like that.
Yeah, I love strings. Like, I just think strings are so emotive. Like they basically sound like the human voice. Like, I just think they just add so much
shine.
Depth and texture and just luxury. Like, they just add luxuriousness to everything. I'm a big fan of strings. When I used to hate strings actually as a kid when I went to CYM, because it was just kids are learning how to play strings, and that don't sound so good. Like, that just sounds like
the saxophone's the same, man.
Everyone tuning up. And I used to walk in every Saturday and be like, oh, this is mad. But then eventually, like, when you get around like people that have learned it for a while and they're accomplished string players,
it takes a while. It takes time to get the sounds. I respect it,
man. It just sounds so good. Like, oh man, it's one of my favorite.
And it looks cool as well. And it looks really cool.
Yeah. I'm actually planning on playing Great Escape Festival in Brighton next month. May 16th with a string player.
Oh, cool.
So that would be really fun because she composed like a lot of strings for like this project that I've got out at the moment and the one that I'm still rolling out. And so it'll be fun for the two of us to just. I'll play acoustic guitar. Kiara.
Okay.
Bolt strings. So yeah, she's incredible. She's dope. Wicked ear and can play. Yeah.
I really love that sound, man. There's nothing like that sound. Well, especially when you have like kind of like, I know you can get VSTs which now sound so good as a string section. Yeah. But even just plotting like one or two, like a lot of those guys like Bonobo and stuff will just have like VST strings and then kind of put in one or two real violinist or violas, and it's like, that sounds so fat. Because you can really kind of change that sound from the VSTs, and then you've also got that realness.
The realness, so you can combine the two. I think that's a wicked idea. I love the fact that strings, you like as a section, it sounds big, lush, and amazing, but also just as a solo thing as well. Just one viola or one violin, just on its own, can sound really haunting, and equally emotive. Do you know what I mean? I just think. It's just a beautiful instrument anyway. I don't know what it is, but it must be. Let me stop gassing up the string players.
Must be the age of that instrument as well, though, because saxophone's fairly new. Saxophone was made by a guy called Adolf Sax at the end of I think it was the 19th century. So it was created in like 1890 or something.
Quite new, yeah.
Where strings, I guess, that wood and the kind of like the development of that sound has been around for so many years.
Yeah.
One of the first orchestral instruments, wasn't it?
Yeah.
I guess that time kind of adds to that depth.
Good point. And that's why certain of those instruments are extremely, extremely expensive, because some of them are made really, really old. Some of them are made from like my boy, his parents, they're classical players, and they play I don't know what it is. It might be like a oboe. Right. And it's just like made from some skin, and it's just like classic, and super, super old. I don't know what it is. I'm not gonna even attempt to guess. Yeah. But I just know it's hella expensive, and it's just like it makes sense.
When you're getting
it's got
into
history.
Those...
The actual instrument has like so much history.
When you get into those territories, stupid like millions of pounds just for like one instrument.
Which is why I understand why it's quite it's quite a classist instrument. Do you know what I mean? Like, because it's like if you don't have access to those funds, it's almost like you don't have access to learn and play that instrument.
Yeah, 100%.
Which is why, again, circling back to CYM, why that was so cool is because it kind of broke down that barrier a little bit and allowed for kids who, again, like I said, would never have been able to afford those instruments just to be able to get on them. Do you know what I mean? And play them.
There's definitely a bit of a divide there, isn't it? I think also the cost of even going to see some of those concerts.
Yeah, like, all music lessons in general. Do you know what I mean? As an extracurricular activity, when you've got bills to pay, is a super luxury that most people can't necessarily afford. Do you know what I mean? I think the internet definitely democratizes that a little bit because there's more information out there and you can learn things easier. But back in the day, before there was an internet, like if you just didn't have any spare cash,
I can imagine just going back on vinyl and just listening to like a bit that you're trying to learn, like a saxophone solo now. You literally just go on YouTube,
go back again.
Yeah, it's not that bit.
Yeah, not that bit.
And just finding like a transcription of the best sax players, and you find most recordings from anywhere around the world.
Yeah,
it's crazy.
It is mad. It is mad.
So yeah, I mean, I kind of had I kind of grew up doing kind of big bands. I never really resonated with music lessons in school for me. I only started to resonate when I started to play with other people. And when I could kind of see that what you can play like cool music that I really like with other people. Right. And then also see that you could travel. We were very lucky. We got to travel a bit when I was like 16, 17, 18.
Nice.
Like in Derbyshire, there was a place called Emijo, which is East Midlands Youth Charge Orchestra, and we got to go to places like LA. That's cool. Went to like Toronto, went to like when we were quite young. Nice. Went to New York.
Nice.
And I was just like, you can do this through music.
That's cool. That's a really, really good experience.
This is definitely a bit of me.
Yeah.
This is what I want to do.
That's
with all your mates
experience.
as well.
Yeah, with your friends. That's a great experience. Yeah, I think playing with other players, we were in like a school band when we were in secondary school, and that was fun. We would just play covers of like famous songs that were just on the radio and stuff, and that was just fun, and it was just us messing around, and it was like you've
got to be playful as well, man. I think you've got to be playful with it as well, right? And kind of have those fun times and have those kind of like periods where you're just kind of messing around with it and learning the way.
100%. I think that's well, that's the fun in it. Like, if you take that out, then what are we talking about?
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
But I do think a lot of lessons are like that, though. I can be a bit serious and a bit like, right, because we were talking before we start, like, I used to teach in a school in Greenwich, and for me, it just became too much about, like I love teaching there, I love the kids, but it became too much about the numbers game. Yeah. And I was like, I'm not in it for this.
Yeah,
I'm in it for like a longevity of a child or a student loving music.
Yeah,
for the next 30 years.
Yeah, and that's you. Your heart's in the right place then when it comes to that, man. It's a shame that so many things have become kind of a bit formulaic, you know, and about, like you said, numbers and stats and all of that kind of jazz. But yeah, I think music should definitely be fun. Like it should definitely be fun. It's music.
And I guess in the church kind of scenario, you're learning from other people. You're watching them play, and you're kind of having to do a lot by ear. There's a real music written down. I think a lot of it is just by feel, by watching.
Yeah, feeling. Yeah, depending on the church as well. You get some churches that are like super big, mega church vibes, and I guess they run programming and all sorts of like big, almost similar to like a concert kind of vibe. But that wasn't like the environment I was in. It was very small, kind of community based. And if you're not turning up to play drums, there's no drummer kind of thing. If you're not turning up to play keys, there's no keys player kind of thing. So there's no guitarist. There was no bass player for a long time. Like, so I think a lot of it is about kind of using what you have around you to create a sound, and also that you're there to serve, essentially, to contribute, to give music, for music to help. Do you know what I mean? An environment an atmosphere, as opposed to using music to like get paid or to take something away. Do you know what I mean? And I think that was a really important lesson really early on. I think that's what playing in not just churches, but anyone that plays music as part of some sort of like a spiritual, you know, endeavor or whatever you want to call it. I think it's a really important lesson that music is actually something that affects the energy and affects the mood and affects the vibe, and it's all about feeling, and you have to just be so in tune, you know, and you know when you're not in tune as well, you can feel that too. You know? I think it's just a really great space to play music, you know, and to interact with music.
And I guess no one's really thinking about the kind of money aspect, which is cool. This is a cool way. I think kind of sometimes to just ruin stuff. I think it'd be nice if certain times, like I have to definitely remind myself sometimes, like you've got to do some stuff not for money. Like, got to do some stuff where you'll go and get a gig and it'll be like a bit more of a stressful situation. You have to learn more songs, but it's not just about
money. Yeah, it's about the experience.
Definitely, and meeting people, having fun.
Yeah,
and almost going back to that like feeling that you had.
Yeah, and just like when you were a kid, you weren't thinking about how much am I going to get paid to play this guitar or to play these drums. Like, it was just, I really enjoy this. Like, this is all I want to do. Do you know what I mean? And obviously life and life circumstances will have it so that, you know, you do have to think about, you know, how you're going to survive and bills and whatnot. But it's good to maintain a little bit of that, like, I just want to do this.
About a balance, I guess.
About it, and be involved in projects that you just do because for the love of it, almost, you know.
Yeah, I definitely, becoming a dad, I definitely found like getting that balance between those two things. Definitely taken me a while. I'm still working on it now, but it's definitely taken me a while. Just because the time kind of feels like kind of allotting it to lots of different things going on.
How has that changed? How has it changed your music? Does it change the way you play? Has it changed your approach to music since being a dad?
I'd say every part of what I do has elevated by like. Sick. I can't even tell you by how much. Like, I've become a very different person. Like, for me, parenting was very much like a magnifying glass to me and my life and like the inner child, and to me like what I was like as a child. And I think that I've learnt, there's not many things that I've learnt more from. Wow. Like, that's what I'd say. Like, and I think I've just become a bit more, for me, when I've got mouths to feed and when I've got people at home that rely on me, like, just makes you a lot more kind of like, I don't know what the right word is. You try to just kind of brutal and more down the line. But also become more caring and more like less selfish.
That's cool.
Like, I think I was a bit more selfish before I had kids, definitely. And I think now, like, I think I'm a lot more open to stuff and I feel a lot more confident. But yeah, I loved having kids. It's like the best thing. Well, we had twin boys in COVID, which obviously is like challenging in itself because you're kind of like, do I have a job?
Yeah. This is my job now. Let's go.
Do I have any kind of income? It's like,
yeah.
literally, they were March 2020. So they're born in August 2020. Wow. So March 2020 was like when it was all kicking off.
Yeah.
I was literally doing my bathroom with my wife, who's there heavily pregnant. And it's like gig after gig, just dropping. I'm like, ugh. Luckily at that time I had the teaching, so I had like 3 days teaching, which didn't really happen. You didn't really teach much at that time.
Yeah.
But
wow.
Yeah, for me, like, it's been the most rewarding and most revealing thing I've ever done. Like, kind of almost like, for me, if I didn't let it change me, like, I think I would have been definitely down the same kind of path. But I think I let those feelings kind of like, I let myself feel those feelings and then realize that maybe I need to address some stuff that happened to me when I was younger, because it was a bit more of a magnifying glass, and then worked through them. Like, I had therapy for a year after I had kids, just to kind of like talk through some stuff that I was finding challenging, stuff from my childhood, like kind of inner child stuff where I felt like I was kind of neglecting that and not really like owning up to what there's some challenging stuff that happened in my childhood. And then when I realized and then opened my eyes and thought, actually, maybe it wasn't all roses. Maybe I should look at some of this stuff. Then I realized, okay, yeah, I need to work through this.
Yeah, well, credit to you, do you know what I mean, for doing the work, you know, and not just kind of avoiding the work. I think that a lot of stuff that just continues to cycle around and perpetuate itself is because people don't always like take time to do the inner work, do you know what I mean, and try and make that.
It hurts.
Yeah.
I think I was definitely scared, and it definitely hurt for a while.
Yeah. But it hurts like rubbing alcohol onto a wound, right? Do you know what I mean? It stings as fuck,
100%.
but it does help the situation in the long term and helps you to heal. So I think that's like, I think it's important work to do. I think the hard stuff is actually the stuff where you grow the most, you know.
Definitely.
So yeah, credit to you, bro. Credit to you. You know, and it's really nice to hear that perspective as well on how that change in your life has like amplified you as a person and made you look at certain things differently and just leveled you up like a bit of a superpower, you know.
Yeah.
Which is quite dope.
Which I think I think not everyone feels like that about parenting, and not everyone feels like that about being a dad, but for me it was definitely something that I didn't realize how much I wanted or needed it. Like, and I think they're just also just fucking fun. They're just hilarious. Like, they're just jokes. Like
little characters.
Yeah. They'll come home and just be like, they say what they think.
Yeah.
I like that. It's so refreshing.
Yeah.
Like, there's no kind of like, you know, embarrassment. It's just like, nah, this is what it is.
Yeah, it was nice. It was nice actually during COVID spending so much time with my nieces and nephews, because I have 4 of them. One of them was kind of born in and around lockdown as well.
You're based around here as well?
Not too far, all within maybe an hour radius.
Nice.
Do you know what I mean? But it was nice because for that reason, they're fun. They were super creative. Like they kind of force you to like not really think about your personal selfish problems.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? They just kind of like snap you into the present moment.
Definitely.
And I think
everything is being now, here and now.
Honestly, I can't wait for them to get older so I can actually tell them how much they kind of helped me through that period of time. Do you know what I mean? Because they really did. Like they're probably the most helpful thing, like, do you know what I mean, during that period of time, like without even knowing it, because they didn't know what was really going on. It was just like, wow, we just got more time off school
and everyone's around. All my family, people I love,
everyone's around. Like, this is incredible. Like, I get to see my Uncle Jesse every day. Like, I get to see my nana every day and my other uncle. Man. And do you know what I mean? I think that was really special, man. And like looking back on it, I was like, wow, man, it really helped me in many ways to be present, to look at the wider perspective, to just appreciate and be grateful for family in general.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? And it helped me creatively, helped me to write music. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, just because when you're around that energy for a long time and then you pick up a guitar, you just kind of feel like a kid again.
The playful element.
The ideas, yeah, exactly, the playful thing. So
I think in lots of ways they're better than adults.
Yeah, they haven't been socialized as much as we have, and
certain things we've
programmed. I was going to say, plugged in and programmed as much.
Definitely,
like it's just it's great. Shout out to all the youths.
Yeah,
big up all the youths worldwide.
No, I love it, man. I love being around them. I never thought about that. That's a very good point. Like, you're being that kind of like freedom and the playfulness that we were talking about earlier, playfulness that kids have, and being around that. Like, I think that's such a great energy to have, and it's definitely going to affect like the way that you think about life and the way you think about making music.
Yeah, and some of my favorite gigs to have been on and people to have been around, like whether it's touring or functions, whatever, has been with people that still can maintain that childlikeness in terms of that playfulness.
Definitely.
And that open-mindedness. And before lockdown, just coming off a particular tour, I felt like I was around that quite a lot, and I felt very grateful for that. You know, we would just be making up songs on a tour bus or just like walking down the road in some random part of the States and seeing something and making a song about it, and just being at breakfast and freestyling. It just felt like constant creativity. And it's great because it allows you to make music, but it also just allows you to connect more to yourself and feel more whole and complete and happier in life. I think that energy, you know, that playfulness. So yeah, not wanting to grow up, but not wanting to lose a part of that. Do you know what I mean? That is really important for me, to kind of try and maintain that freedom, like in thinking, and that freedom in play, like, and yeah, maintain that is really important to me.
Yeah, definitely.
You know?
So what were you for lockdown then? What did you spend your time doing? It seems weird that it was 5 years ago now?
Yeah, it's crazy how time is moving mad.
Yeah.
Time is moving really, really fast, and it just relatively, I guess, to how much older you get, time does speed up. Like,
yeah.
But that period of time was cool for me, especially the first couple of months. There were some really sad things happening. Like, a really good friend of mine, basically my brother, lost his mum to cancer during that period of time. So that was really difficult. But I was also grateful that, like, I was around. Do you know what I mean? Like, he's like one of my oldest, closest friends, and a single, you know, only child, you know what I mean? Single parent mum. I think it meant more that we were around each other when he was going through that, you know, when we were going through that, to be honest. But so some of it was really, really sad, but some of it was also very beautiful, like I said, because it was about being close to friends and family and being home and being local. And yeah, I did a lot of writing. I think writing became like very therapeutic for me. I think it was, just kind of like, another thing about being away is it feels more special coming back home and picking up your guitar and playing like things that you've learned and experimenting with that again. So it was a lot of that for me. It was a lot of just like picking up my guitar and just playing, like, and just writing loads and journaling loads and just like expressing like a lot of like feelings and shit, you know. I think that was kind of what...
It's definitely a time full of a lot of feelings for everyone, right?
I think it was a really inward time for a lot of people because you didn't have as many distractions or as many things to do and to go out and do, and we were all kind of in the same boat. We were all at home. Do you know what I mean?
There's Zoom parties.
No, they were mad. I never really got involved in that stuff.
I heard it, like 10 minutes of one. I was like, man, I'm good.
I know there was a few phone calls to do that kind of stuff, and I was like, I remember it, man. And I was like, nah, I'm good, man. Like, I'm good. Yeah. You know what I mean? It was more about, for me, I think for an introvert, it was like an introvert's dream for a little period of time, like just not having to worry about FOMO and missing out on what was happening outside, and like not having to be in places. Obviously, it's important to get out, but not having to do that or having that pressure, I think, was nice. And so it was a lot of like meditation and like spending time in nature, in the park, and the things that are free in life, you know what I mean? And a lot more focus on like physical health and personal health, like, and
I think a lot of people got fit and got very kind of strong during that period.
It was quite transformative, I think, for a lot of people. I definitely felt it was for me, at least for a period of time, and then it obviously started to get quite long. Do you know what I mean? And it was like
when they kept like bringing us in and out.
Yeah,
that was a bit
it started to fuck with people a little bit. I think your mental health was like, it was a bit like, oh.
I remember going back to gigs there and being like, this is fucking terrifying. Like being in front of performing it and being energetic in front of people.
I felt that. I felt that. Shout out to Mish, because, you know, she's a singer, and the first gig that I had after lockdown, after not playing any gigs for so long, was like a wedding, and I was singing the first dance, and I felt like my voice had changed quite a lot, because I think not using your voice, obviously, as a singer, like, is going to change your voice because you're not working out that muscle. But also, I think grief changes your voice as well. Do you know what I mean? I think that it just does. You know, you can hear people's pain in their vocal a little bit more over time. Like, and the voice does that a bit like we were talking about classical instruments having history and stuff. I think your body does the same thing. It sounds different based on how old you are, like, or how much life you've lived, or what experiences you've had.
Why a lot of tortured singers sound incredible, right?
Maybe, yeah, man. Those are like, that's my favorite, when I hear, like, when I just hear a voice without even the frills, but just the texture of it, and it just, I'm like, I can hear, like, I can hear a lot of depth there.
I think of Jelly Roll at the moment when I think of that. Have you checked out much Jelly Roll?
Not much, but
it's like that kind of sound, like almost you can feel that kind of pain. Sorry.
No, I think of Johnny Cash and stuff when I think of stuff like that, especially as he got older, like, and a lot of old soul and blues artists as well. I think of that. But like
Nina's kind of sound has got that
Nina,
kind of
exactly.
Like,
it's like, I can tell you've lived. Like, I can hear you've lived. I can hear you've got story. I can hear your stories in your voice alone, you know. But I was shook as well. I was terrified.
Singing that first dance and then
just singing that first dance and being so nervous that, like, my voice sounded shit, and just feeling like, oh man, I just felt so anxious because. So
it's a big moment though as well.
Yeah, hadn't been in like that environment for long and hadn't seen certain people for long, and I felt like, what do we do in this environment, you know? And shout out to Mish, because she was just like so supportive, and she was just like, Jesse, man, I can hear like your voice, like I can hear like how much it's grown and things that you've gone through, and it just sounds so. She just really complimented it, you know, that change, and it really helped my confidence actually.
That's what you needed in that moment.
Yeah, I definitely needed it in that moment. So yeah, big shout out to Mish for that, man. And
that's beautiful. Yeah,
it was really nice to get back into it, but it took a while.
Definitely,
it took a few gigs to start.
Especially when a lot of the time what we do is like, if you're doing the kind of the function stuff and the gigs that we did, like the White Keys one, like a lot of that is in people's faces.
Yeah,
and it's very energetic.
Yeah, man.
Very kind of like you got to be there.
Yeah, you got to be there.
You kind of got to drop those feelings sometimes.
You just got to perform.
Yeah,
you just got to put all of that stuff to the side and just focus on performing. You know, but yeah, it was really it meant a lot to go back into playing gigs as well. Actually, after COVID, because it made
it feel like a reset for you.
It did feel like a reset. It made me feel like I had a bit of a break, and now I realize how much I value this thing as well. Because I think when you do it for a long period of time and consistently, you just don't always value it as much. You know, you don't understand how special it is. Or,
take it for granted sometimes.
Yeah, to be able to travel and work. Like, some people get to travel once every 2, 3, 4, 5 years. Some people don't get to travel at all. Do you know what I mean? Like, but because you've got, or you've dedicated yourself to like this particular thing, you can experience those things, like traveling and different cultures in different parts of the world, to go and play music, and also
get paid with your mates.
Get paid to do it. Like, it's actually a real privilege, you know. And like anything, you can take it for granted when you do it.
I think as soon as you talk to someone who's not a musician about it, they go like, "What?
Yeah,
you went to where?
Yeah, and you're like, "What?" And you get paid for that.
Yeah,
you get to do that.
You get paid well to do that.
A career, like, is that a thing? Sometimes they even try to ask you how much you get paid. I'm like, Mr. Uber driver, man, you're getting comfortable, bro. Calm down, bro. You're doing too much. You're doing too. We just met, but yeah, man. But like that's the thing though. Like, going back into it was like, I was like, this is really nice. There was a few gigs, there was a few moments where I stood on stage and I was just like, you know what? This is actually amazing that I get to do this. And it made me a better performer or singer. It just made me care more about that particular thing. Do you know what I mean? So I think it is actually good to dip in and out and have moments where you're not doing it as much and then going back into doing it more. But yeah, pre-COVID, post-COVID, during COVID, it was just a whole mad time.
Yeah, it was very weird.
Yeah, it was a whole mad time.
So you spent a lot of time around here. Where did you spend most time then?
Around here, yeah. I was on Hackney Marshes pretty much every day with a book and some music. Do you know what I mean? And
getting outside. Yeah,
just getting outside and just being in the vibe, like walking around. I was around here loads. Some people were abroad and stuff, and I kind of envied a little bit of that, because I was like, that would have been a shout to be in Ghana or something.
But the weather, do you remember the weather though? That March weather from onwards?
It was banging for the first. Yeah, but maybe it's just that we got more time to enjoy it too, because we weren't having other things to think about and do.
Yeah,
so
that's true.
We noticed that the weather was dope more. But I do feel like the weather was...
It was good. This year seems to be all right so far, though.
Yeah, so far,
got glimpses
so
of that.
Yeah. It's April. It's not like completely pissing down with rain for like 5-10 days straight. So I think we're in good stead, man. But Yeah. Like you said, COVID. A lifetime ago, man.
It's weird.
Yeah, it was weird.
How time flies. But I do think that kind of reset. I think with me, I don't know what you're like, but I kind of feel sometimes like I'm just like always moving towards something, and I feel sometimes I should just say to myself like just chill out a bit.
Just chill, man.
Just take a couple of days or like some time just to not be like chasing that thing.
Yeah, I know what you mean. I struggled a little bit with ambition after COVID a bit because I was so like still that I was just like, maybe just life should just be about just this, just being content and just being just chilled and not having to strive towards anything in particular, but just living like. And I agree with that in large part, but I also think it's important to have goals and to have routine and to have.
What are your ambitions for your music?
Honestly, it's to be able to just share more of myself with more people. I think that's really at the heart of it, like to share more of my honest self and truth with more people. So whether that comes in the form of a song or visual, piece of physical art, whatever, anything, and any creative act, because I love all forms of creativity, you know, like I painted that thingy over there, for example, just because I had the space and I thought, let me just do it. So I think for me, those are my ambitions. I think it would be amazing also if it was sustainable and you can live life and have a family and grow old and be all right when you retire and you're not strong enough, like, and still be able to take care of people you love, like, and still do the things you love. That's the overall goal, isn't it? Like, to be able to live that life, like.
Definitely.
So I think for me that would be the ambition, you know. But it isn't necessarily to have like any grand aims of like being like a mega superstar, super famous or anything like that. I'm not afraid of stuff like that. If something took off and you had a moment that goes really well, viral or whatever, then great, whatever. But that's not the purpose. You know?
We've got to go with your music first, hasn't it? Music first, friends first, and that kind of creativity you were talking about. Like I think that's like exactly what you said. Surely that's got way more longevity.
Yeah, and you just enjoy it more while you're doing it. You know, if you're always constantly doing something to reach that end point and you're miserable right now because you haven't reached that end point, then what are you doing? Like, you don't know how much time you've got. Like, tomorrow's definitely not guaranteed. So, like, you've got to, you've got to be enjoying. You've got to try at least and enjoy or engage with like what you're doing today, like now. Do you know what I mean? And if you keep doing that, then hopefully the end goal or whatever it just becomes a bit more fun when you do get there. Or if you don't get there, it doesn't matter as much because you still enjoyed your day to day. You know, you still were intentional. So I think that for me is that's important. Like, enjoying process is so important. You know, the steps leading to the next thing, just enjoying the actual steps. You know,
that's cool. Yeah, I think I've been thinking a bit about. I kind of think it's sometimes, I know it's kind of a bit of a dark thought, but it's sometimes good to think about that this isn't going to be around forever. This isn't, you know, infinite. I think it's good to be thinking about those things. Gives you a bit that kind of impetus and the stuff to really put that effort in and focus on stuff that's really important to you and be that kind of authentic person and go after stuff that you want to go after. That was
it for me. That was my main thought during lockdown, during COVID. Like, that was it, because that was.
Did you get COVID?
I think I did have it. Yeah, I did. I had it twice actually. I tested and I had it twice. Yeah, it was weird. I lost my sense of taste and smell and all of that, and I felt terrible, to be honest.
It's a weird. I remember it just being a weird feeling, like nothing I've ever felt before.
Yeah, same. It was very.
It felt almost synthetic. That's what it felt like.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like something was like this is like nothing I've ever felt.
Yeah, it definitely felt like a new experience on the physical body. Do you know what I mean? That was weird. But that made me
hallucinations and stuff. I was getting some weird stuff.
Were you getting hallucinations?
Yeah, some weird dreams and like almost like kind of feverish. Like my body got rid of it fairly quickly, but I remember just thinking like, this is a new feeling.
Wow, I didn't get that. I didn't get any hallucinations or anything like that, or any weird dreams.
Maybe just the fever. The fever was like, just sweated it out. Yeah, we were in Wales, so when COVID hit, we just went to my wife's house in Wales, parents' house in Wales, and just
kicked it there.
Had lots of barbecues. Well. The kids weren't even there because my wife was still pregnant.
Oh, okay.
So then there was no kids. It was like all of Ashana's like brothers and sisters.
Yeah.
Or brothers and sisters-in-law, and then we just had barbecues every day and just chilled in the sun. Then it's so remote that it was in the country, so you could just basically do what you wanted.
You just out
and I was like teach online, where I'd go upstairs and just like look at a screen, no one would turn up. Then I'd go back downstairs, be like, what's for dinner?
So surreal.
Yeah, it's weird.
Oh man, so surreal. Some people, they were working every day during it, like just as per usual. Do you know what I mean? Just on Zoom, you know, having to do all of the same, exactly the same stuff they were doing.
Which is not as much of a reset, right?
No. So again, like even the experience of that moment in time was completely different for them. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? Completely different. It's just maybe they couldn't go to the pub after work or do that stuff as much. But the actual working day hadn't changed at all. No. They still have to book holidays. They still have to work X amount of hours a day.
I've got quite a few mates though that are kind of like it was a blessing in some ways because of the work from home. Yeah. Like they literally wouldn't have seen. I've got mates who live in Brighton. They wouldn't have seen their kids anywhere near as much now. So sometimes going like once a week, whereas before it would have been 5 days a week, which is a new thing. I think that they've realised, we didn't actually need all these people to come into these massive offices all times. Yeah,
which is changing the economy, right? Because it means that like all those coffee shops and stuff that were next to office workspaces that aren't really busy anymore, they've lost business, and it's just no point having that physical
even next to tube stops, right? If you're parking somewhere, going to a tube stop.
Do you know what I mean?
That's interesting. I didn't think of that.
Like all of that kind of jazz, and then also just like everything. Just like even like a WeWork office, for example, which would have been packed busy. Do you know what I'm saying? But prior to lockdown, it's kind of wasn't gone out of business or something, or going out of business. No one's in them, you know. Yeah. Physical spaces in general, like as office spaces, are just not that desirable because people just don't need to go in as much, you know.
It's interesting that period changed all that. I think that's what I quite like about Worthing. I live in Worthing and I like there's not that many chains. Right. And there obviously are in the centre, but a lot of it is independent stuff.
It feels more bespoke.
It's like Brighton's kind of similar. There's a lot of independent coffee shops, all really good quality.
How long is the drive from Worthing into London?
So I used to live in like kind of Mitcham area. Yeah. And that's where I drive into, and that's like Collierwood, Tooting. Okay. So I drive there in about an hour and 10.
Hour and 10, okay.
So I got here, basically you can get into Victoria in about an hour and 20. Okay. And then you're basically by the sea. So I live like 10 minutes from the seaside. That's not bad. So I can just walk to the seaside.
That's not bad. That's why you're so chill, man. That's what it is. I was looking at you, I was like, why is this guy so chill? You can't live in London. You cannot be living in London. That chill with 3 kids, 3 little boys, and you're that relaxed. Nah, man, you don't live in London. Yeah, you live by the sea. That makes sense. It's funny, like wherever you go in the world,
I didn't used to be this calm though. I'm a lot calmer now.
How long have you been in Worthing?
I mean, how long have you been in Worthing? A year and a half?
Is there a correlation?
Yeah, definitely.
Do you know what I mean?
Like, I don't know. My 20s, I was a lot more not as calm. I think now I've got to calm down a lot.
Yeah, I think that age does that in general, though, isn't it?
Definitely.
You would think anyway, but yeah, I think people that live by the sea generally in the world tend to be more chill.
There was that study, wasn't they? Say it could be up 20 to 30% more chill because
like LA versus New York. Do you know what I mean? Right. Like people in LA or California or just places where there's a bit more water, they seem to just be a bit more chilled out.
Definitely. It's that rhythm, isn't it? The rhythm of the waves, right? That kind of like feeling of that stuff going in and out, that natural white noise. I think it definitely makes a difference. It definitely
affects people.
We do a lot of swimming in the sea as well, even in the winter. So that's kind of like...
That's really good for you as well.
Yeah. So I'm well into like ice baths and well into like getting into all that kind of stuff. Okay. So in the winter, it's like 5 degrees in the water. So you do that. Then they do like saunas on the beach. So you do sauna.
Straight into a sauna.
Get into there, back and forth. Which is like a big thing in different areas like Finland and Sweden and stuff. They're really into that stuff. I think this country is getting more and more. Apparently there's a lot in London now.
Interesting.
Where you have saunas and then they have like an ice bath.
But there are a few rooftop places in Hackney that have stuff like that. There's one in Hackney Wick, yeah. I'm yet to go, but I've heard,
it makes you feel amazing, man.
Yeah, I'd like to try it actually at some point. I think I've heard it's really, really good for you. Really, really good for you.
I think it's good for... It's just something you really don't want to do. And it's something that's really challenging and you don't want to do it. And sometimes those things, you've got to do them. Do you know what I mean? In like life.
Yeah.
So just getting in and being like, I'm calm, I'm all right, I'm not going to die. Because your brain's thinking, I'm going to die, I want to get out.
Yeah. It's like approaching really challenging things and overcoming them is good for your brain.
Definitely.
Yeah. Okay. I think I need more of those kinds of things actually.
But you don't need anything. Like I do it in my bath. Yeah. So literally I've got a fridge or freezer and I just put litre bottles of water in. Okay. Like that. Okay. Freeze them, then put them in the bath. Open the top, and then that makes like a freezing ice bath. Yeah. You don't need anything that's expensive. That will cost you, what, £10 if you buy like 10 bottles of water.
Okay. I
Then
might give that a pop.
Yeah, it's good.
I might give that a pop. Sounds good.
Yeah. And then you can feel, I don't know, something about it. They did loads of studies in about, I think like even a cold shower can improve your dopamine by like 200%. Just from having a cold shower in the morning.
I used to do it. I used to like have a normal shower and then like for like a minute or something after I just like turn it to cold. And it was horrible at first, just like, and then after a while you're like, this is calm. And then when you get out, you just feel great, man. It's a really good feeling.
Yeah, it's cool.
But again, like we just want to be comfortable sometimes. So I just don't even want to approach that discomfort in the first place. But it is good. The other side of that is really good, man. It's a really good feeling.
Yeah, it feels like everything's just woken up. If you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like I don't do it before gigs. I like an ice bath before a gig because it gives you that kind of like energy.
Okay.
Like kind of like, right, I can do this.
Yeah.
Especially if it's like a gig where you got to be moving a lot.
Okay, cool. All right, cool. Say no more. All right, cool.
But that's definitely a thing from like podcasts, like listening to podcasts. A lot of people, it's like a kind of fashionable thing that people from podcasts talk about.
Okay.
And I was just like, I'm going to try it. I like the way it makes me feel.
And you tried it and it gave you value. Cool. Good. That's good information then.
Yeah.
It works.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I think for me,
sign.
what were you going to say?
No, I was just saying I'll take this as a sign to try that.
Yeah. I think for me, definitely the calming your brain during something stressful.
Yeah.
Where someone's like,
yeah.
You go, okay, I'm just going to be calm. Just going to be chilled.
Cool.
But yeah, so what have you got tour-wise this year?
Tour-wise, not loads going on. I just got back from my first support tour.
Oh yeah, I saw that. We've been talking about that. Yeah, amazing.
With Michael Kiwanuka, which was really, really dope, really amazing experience. It was like 13 dates in Europe and the UK, so that was cool.
Amazing.
So I've still got that buzz to just want to get back and play more original music as well, actually. So couple of gigs.
And that was your original music, right?
Yeah.
Amazing.
So that was really cool. And yeah, tours. Outside of that, I work with Gorillaz as well. So I'll have some Gorillaz dates, I think, coming up soon. And that's kind of mainly it, to be honest, between my stuff and working with Gorillaz. That's kind of it. And it feels like a really nice balance because working on original music and then working on music that I really love as well in the Gorillaz is very fun. So yeah. Not planning on being away loads and loads and loads touring this year in general, but you never know. You know, that's the nature of this.
I remember you saying Gorillaz is like one of the biggest productions you've worked with, right? In terms of like when they bring stuff to a venue, in terms of what they're bringing. Yeah,
it's just so many people and there's the massive screens and it's just the whole thing is just such a vast like project, man. But what's beautiful about it is that it's still so focused on the art, like the music, like the art aspect, the visual, the performance. It's just like that's what's really, really important. That's what comes across. You know, I think that's why it's been.
It's so global, isn't it?
Yeah, so global, and it's had so much longevity. I think it's coming up to like 25 years or something.
I remember listening to it as a kid. I remember one of the first things that I got, first albums that I got.
You know, so imagine
those riffs are iconic, man.
Yeah, so for me, that's kind of it's so special to be around that vibe and to be around people like Damon and you know some of the featured artists that are there as well, like De La Soul and Booty Brown from Farside and all the people that kind of come in and out of the gig during it. It's a really good experience, and I'm very grateful again that like my journeys as a session musician has brought me that experience, you know. And so yeah, not loads of touring planned this year.
Sounds like you're being selective there. That sounds great. Sounds like you're being selective with the things that you want to do. And
I'm grateful that I can be at this point in time. I hope I can be even more selective as time goes on. But like, I'm very grateful that I can be selective because I just think that's another thing that during COVID and lockdown, I thought so much more about my time and where I was spending it and how I was spending it and. Yeah, love to everything I've been involved in and done. Like I really had amazing experiences and gained so much from that work. But
there's Angel on that one as well, right?
Angel's on it as well. Yeah. Big up to Ange. That's my sis. But it's kind of one of those things where it's nice to think a bit more about being intentional with like where you are and what you're doing and stuff like that. So yeah, again,
that's beautiful, man. Yeah, we're all so lucky, aren't we, with what we do and stuff. It's like you're saying, like I think we forget. and then we take those moments where almost like we zoom out and then be like, wow, what we're doing is pretty fucking amazing.
No, it's amazing. It doesn't come without its challenges, of course, like everything else in life. Like, not every day is like roses, you know what I'm saying? But at the same time, it is like relatively a really beautiful thing to be involved in, you know? And, you know, there are, who said it to me the other day? He's like, think of all the thousands and thousands of, hundreds of thousands of musicians that exist in the world, like, and think of all the thousands and thousands and tens of thousands of professional musicians who are very trained and qualified in the world. And then you're going to have to keep narrowing that percentage down to get to a percentage of people who actually can sustain like a living from doing that thing.
Yeah.
It's very rare. Like, when you look at the context of like everyone in the world who can play music and play it really well. And sometimes it's just down to location, you know, you just happen to be born in a city where there are function bands and there are pop gigs that can pay and blah, do you know what I mean? So, and
also the people who are the most successful often have the most followers. So what people are doing are watching those people. They're not watching the people who are struggling with it.
Yeah, exactly.
So then they're seeing those eyes and going like, oh no, but there's those people doing it. It's like you're not taking into account all the other people who are trying.
All the other people that are trying and are good at singing or really good at playing the guitar or the drums or whatever it is. So yeah, I just think it's nice to have that like in the back of your mind sometimes.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's so important, man, to be that kind of the gratitude and be grateful for that stuff. I think we're very lucky in what we do. And I think I'd love to sustain it and just keep doing it forever. There's also the thing, like, I don't think you'll ever really retire. Like, I can't imagine myself not like wanting to just make music all the time, even when I'm older. I think it kind of keeps you young. Yeah,
I think it does. I think creativity keeps you young for sure. Yeah, I hope I always have the buzz for like making and playing music and singing. And
we should do a track together. Why don't we do a track together?
Yeah, let's do it. That'd be nice. I wonder what you'd have in mind, like what the vibe would be.
I don't know really. I need to listen to it. Like, probably spend a bit of time listening to your vibe, and then just think about what would work. Because I like doing all kind of different genres really, and I like your style. I love that kind of sound, that aesthetic. It's very cool. Yeah, I like that a lot.
It's funny. I just did something with Tom Sison. He's do you know Tom?
Yeah.
So
that name.
Yeah, we just did a track together, which is fun because he's like a jazz guy, super duper jazz.
What does he play?
He plays trumpet. He plays trumpet.
Okay.
And it was cool, man, because I mean it's not out yet, and hope maybe when this is out, it will be out. Who knows, or it will come out. But it was fun because his approach to music is different to mine. He's you know, a lot more theoretical, and he's really. Just really, what's the word I'm looking for? He's just an amazing musician, an amazing technical musician, and I'm just a bit more of a vibes man. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. So it was just.
Well, jazz is. I mean, I studied jazz, and it's literally the hardest genre.
Yeah, it's difficult. There's so much to it.
Odd times. It's like the music's all over the shop in terms of what you got to play.
Yeah, but I actually feel like it's about freedom as well.
Definitely.
You know what I mean? I think that like early jazz was just people were just playing like this really free-form stuff, and then we all studied the really free-form stuff and turned it into really technical thing, and then now it's become a super technical thing. But I don't know. I think like it's good to keep vibes. Do you know what I mean?
Definitely.
Keep vibes near.
Yeah.
So that was it. It was nice to work with him on it actually, because you know he was really.
Well, that's why collaboration is cool, I guess. Because he's got his approach, yours from your approach.
Yeah, we both like took a little bit from each other, and we're just mixing it at the moment, and so hopefully it'll be out soon.
Nice.
And it'll be really fun. I'm really.
Where do you get stuff mixed?
At different people. I work with a guy, well, on this project, that most recent project I putting out, I worked with a guy called Al Dobson. He's based in Japan, and that was the reason why we went to Japan most recently, because the idea was to mix it on like an analog desk through tape.
Sick.
And to mix, like, kind of dub mix it a little bit. Nice. So kind of use the desk as a.
Yeah, I heard that and saw some videos actually. It's cool, man.
Use it as an instrument to like throw in throws and stuff and delays and reverbs and all sorts of stuff. So that was kind of the mixing process for that project. But there's no one particular person. I think it just depends on what's right for
definitely
the project, you know.
Yeah I love all that stuff. I got a guy that I use in Hammersmith called Neil Pickles.
Okay.
And he's part of like what's that big theatre that's right in the back? Is it the Lyric? No, the bang in the middle of Hammersmith. The Apollo. So he's literally a part of the Apollo building. So his Apollo's there, and then his little building that he's got these like stupid like $100,000 monitors that he uses because it's part of like the same building. The people who own this, but his ear and stuff. What I'll do is I'll send him like before we do the mastering, I'll send him like a mix and just be like, how can I make this so that it's pretty much ready for you to master? And he'll be like, do this, do this, do this, and then you come back after that and you're like, oh my god, it sounds
some
like
people just got that gift, you know.
Yeah,
They've just got
ear
those
for it.
ears. Yeah,
you can see him sitting there like just thinking, taking it in.
I've got a friend like that who produced some of the stuff that we put out. His name's Ferg, and he's got those ears. Like, I would work with him for like a year, and he's like, "Can you hear that? Can you hear that frequency?" Like, and I'm like, "Bro, I can't hear anything."
No.
Until he like pushes it up, and then I'm like, "Oh," but he's hearing it already, and it's just he's got such detailed ears, man. And
I think that's a training thing as well, though.
Yeah, probably is too. Yeah,
you train for like the tone of your sound and the tone of your voice, whereas those people are like, what's that on that?
Yeah, true. I think there's an element of that, but I don't want to take away from just the genius of it as well, 100%. Man, because I think that some of it is just like some people are just more in tune to certain things, and just like some people have perfect pitch and stuff like that. He's just got those ears, man. He's got those detailed.
I remember seeing perfect pitch like in action. Quite a few people at uni had it, and I'm just like,
I've not.
It's the difference between like seeing like something and just knowing what color it is.
Yeah,
like, that's how quick it is. Like that's this. It's like there's no like discrepancy. It's like that's this.
That's a superpower for sure. Yeah, some people really have that. Well, kudos to them.
Yeah,
big them up.
100%.
Big them up.
How are we doing for time?
I have no idea. It might be like, imagine it's like 4:30. My mate's calling me, going, "Where are you, bro?" All right, 1 second. Let me check. Let me get my phone.
It's one of those things where you're like,
"Where are you, bro?" I'm in here, sir. Oh no, all right. It's actually just on 3:30.
Look at that. Hang on. We'll just say like a little clip at the end just to say I can just cut it in.
Go on in. Oh.
So thank you for having Jesse Appiah on the podcast. Still yet to be named, so I don't know what I'm going to call this podcast.
Yeah. Thank you for having
me down. Where can people check out your socials and stuff?
So my Instagram is J Appiah Music, and it's the same for X, which I don't really use. And my website is jappiahmusic.com.
Nice. Yeah, I've not been on X since it's changed. I don't think I've been on since it's changed from Twitter.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Online in the ether somewhere, online somewhere. If you just type in J Appiah, it'll come up somewhere. I'm sure something will come up.
Amazing.
Something old and embarrassing might come up.
Some OnlyFans.
Wait, we're going in that direction, man. We can have a whole podcast about that because that's been happening.
The music thing, right?
Yeah,
so music and creativity, right? There's loads of stuff as well as pornography.
I don't know. I've never actually downloaded the app, but yeah, maybe I'll check it out.
There's a few like MMA fighters have started using it for different things.
Kind of makes sense if you want to get closer to a person. I think that was the whole point of the platform, isn't it? Like,
comedians as well. Comedians have used it.
For people to really feel close, like, do you know what I mean?
Yeah, makes sense.
It does make sense.
We'll end on that.
we will end on the OF. Peace.
Goodbye, everybody.
See you, man. Good to chat, bro.